Shalom, Yasha Allah. It's your brother and priest before the Ruach of Allahayim on behalf of our master, Yahushai, Yahushua, as some say. And I'm happy to be with you, be among you after such a long time. Last time we were together in this manner was at the breakaway time as we were preparing for the exercise of release from the 400 years of enslavement. I think this would have been somewhere around July, August, somewhere around that time, September maybe, when I did a video on the famous singer amongst us, Donnie McClurkin. I did a video asking for prayers for Donnie while I delivered the final address of Yasha Allah on the behalf of Mashiach, our Malak. He had to deliver an address towards the ending of our 400 years enslavement in view of crossing over into the new era after the 400 years, which indeed ended in March 24th, 25th. That's when the 400 years was officially ended. And so now I've come again at the behest of our master in the tradition of our forefathers, being taught by the Ruach, Father's Ruach, to bring further clarity concerning our situation, concerning our status as a nation at this time. We give thanks to the Most High Yahweh in the presence of Abba Rabak and to the exaltation of our King, our High Priest, Malak, and High Priest, Yahushai, Yahushua, some say, and there are other names that are called. Put your name in there. It's all right. We're still on the pathway to getting it right. So put your name in there. What you want to call the Mashiach, you put that in there too. Let that go in the mix. We want to give honor and esteem to the Most High and to our Mashiach, our King, our High Priest. So we want to look at a word here that would be proper in regards of the time to give insight as to where we are and how we ought to be conducting ourselves. I'm sure that there has been other address concerning Shavuot, and I have not listened to them as yet. Still trying to get myself together to hear what my brethren have to say concerning this time. But in any case, as I am placed in this time period and this position to deliver this word to you, I humbly take on the task. I wish you could have been here praying with me. So our word comes from Zechariah chapter 3, and Zechariah chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. We might take some more, I'm not sure at this time being, but from verses 1 through 7, we'll start with that. If we have to do another part to carry on the dialogue, we'll do so. But Zechariah chapter 3, verses 1 through 7 says, "And he showed me Yahoshua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. And Yahweh said to Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, Satan. Yahweh, who has chosen Jerusalem, rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire?" And Yahushua was dressed in filthy garments and was standing before the messenger. And he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, "Remove the filthy garments from him." And to him he said, "See, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robe on you." And I said, "Let them put a clean turban on his head." Then they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him. And the messenger of Yahweh stood by. And the messenger of Yahweh witnessed by Yahoshua, saying, "Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, if you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall also rule my house, and also guard my courts, and I shall give you access and I shall give you access among these standing here." All right, brethren, 12 tribes of Yasha'Allah in the diaspora, I greet you again in the blessed presence of Abba's Rawak, the Rawak of our King, Yahweh Shai, Yahushua, and so on. I greet you in the blessing of the word of comfort, shalom, shalom, peace to the house. And so let's begin. We find here Zechariah referencing in verse 1 that Zechariah found himself before the messenger of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. Please note carefully that Yahoshua, the high priest at the time, is shown envision standing before the messenger of Yahweh. The first thing I need Yasha'Allah to see here is that the messenger of Yahweh is the Mashiach before his human birth. I need you to get that picture, Yasha'Allah, 12 tribes. Go and look at it. And he showed me Yahushua, the high priest, standing before the Malachim of Yahweh. This is the same kind of representation you find in Bereshith, yes. What you find in what do you call the Exodus, when the Most High came down to speak to the situation of enslavement under the Egyptians and Pharaoh. You found that Yahweh, the Most High, appeared unto Moshe in a burning bush. You remember that? I think it's Exodus chapter 3, I believe it is. But in any case, most likely, most of us, or many of us, know the story of the burning bush. If you don't know it, go into Exodus, I believe it's chapter 3, and you'll see there that the messenger of Yahweh spoke out of the fire unto Moshe. This is so beautiful. But here you have the same messenger speaking, or administering unto the Most High Yahweh, or before the Most High Yahweh. The messenger of Yahweh is ministering on the behalf of Yahushua, the high priest. And look, right away you see that Satan is standing at the right hand of the high priest, Yahushua, to be an adversary to him. So then, the picture is clear if you understand the scriptures, our Torah, from the beginning, that when sin came in to the earth, it was brought by Satan in connection with our first mother, who fell prey to Satan's deception and entanglement concerning the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Hear me well, Yasha'Allah. And so Satan became, as the scriptures teach us in other passages, that Satan became the God of this world. And this is where we get this word God coming at us through the interpretation of our chief adversary in the earth, Esau. They set up the name of God for Satan to lead the 12 tribes into idolatry. In any case, the point that is needful for you, Yasha'Allah, to understand what you're looking at in this first verse, that there was Yahushua, the high priest, remember, high priest in the nation of Yasha'Allah. This was around the time of the Babylonian captivity. And so I am thinking, I have to research it further for clarity. I'm thinking that there were moving or in procession towards the time of delivery from the Babylonian captivity. This is what I am perceiving at the moment. I don't know how accurate I am for sure. In any case, the scenery here is in the time period of the Babylonian captivity. And so the messenger or the Malachim of Yahweh, that is our Mashiach, who is our high priest right now in the Shamayim, interceding on our behalf. There he was in this vision, giving direction as it is his place of authority to do so, giving direction to Zechariah. I guess we could look at a picture of someone being installed into an office, and you have the installer, or the one who's conducting the ceremony of the protocol to show forth such an individual that is being installed. In this case, we're looking at the high priesthood of Yahushua. And so he is, according to the text, the Mashiach as the one next to the Father, administrating on the behalf of Yasha'Allah, is there to represent the 12 tribes. Now, this is, of course, before his human birth. And this is one of the key points that I would have you recognize Yasha'Allah. All right? So, as this ceremony is in progress, you have Satan, who now is representing his authority in the earth, his authority that was awarded to him in the matter of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's when he gained access into the earth by the rebellion of our first mother, Eve, we call her, or Yahweh. What was her name? Hawa. Eve. She's the one that gave the earth into the hand of Satan. As we're still experiencing it today, under, having been under the dominion of sin from that time of the Garden of Eden. Wherefore, we have had the wonderful, speechless experience of new birth through the Mashiach, as Abba Noah is making up the count for those that are going to be in the new administration of the affairs of the kingdom of heaven on the earth that became under siege because of what our first mother had done. And so we need all to pay attention to this, as usual, and we need our women to actually see this. And we need the brothers now to take courage in the knowledge that the Ruach of the Most High is exposing the matters of concerning the kingdom and showing exactly what has been the problem with maintaining the protocols of the kingdom since we fell in Adam, our first father, through the intervention of his wife, his woman, handing the kingdom over to Shaitan, the evil one. So this is the backdrop or the knowledge of why we have been in the condition of turmoil and wars and rumors of wars and kingdoms falling and rising and falling. It's all because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. Courtesy of our first mother. Again, we're calling our women to take note, because now where we are stationed, where we are positioned after the 400 years of enslavement, we have to recap, and this is what we are undergoing right now. The Ruach of our Father, of our Mashiach, is taking us into or through a period of recap. You see, as you observe Yahushua, he was dressed in verse 3. He's dressed in filthy garments as he was standing before the messenger or the Malachim of Yahweh. Remember, the Malachim is the Mashiach, who has, from the time of Zechariah, in this vision, Mashiach has been manifested in the flesh, coming from the Virgin Miriam, as is prophesied in the exchange of birthright between Yasha'Allah or Yaakov and Esau. You got it? So the Mashiach was coming from that time. From that time, as it was prophesied, as Yahweh, our father, prophesied to Abraham, that of his seed he would bring forth the Blessed One that would take care of the sin problem that started with our first mother in the garden. So by the time worldly kingship and rulership was continuously under contest between the kings of the earth and Satan, to put it more to the point, it was a situation of kings who were under the rulership of Satan, the evil one, who got in his position, who achieved his position because of the lust and the rebellion of our first mother. You got to keep it real, because we are in a situation of recap after the 400 years. And we need to know what our position is and what are the protocols that we are that are demanded of us, because we have demands on both sides of the issue. We have the demand of our king. The chief of our kings is the Most High Yahweh himself, but he has instituted on his behalf his king, the son of his love, Mashiach, the beloved, the one altogether lovely, who has become our king as forecasted in Bereshith chapter 20, 25, I believe it is. That gives you the understanding of the birthright offering between Esau and Jacob, who became Yasha'Allah. All right, so we are at this point where the Mashiach has indeed come, as was prophesied, all the way back from Bereshith chapter 3, I believe it is, where the prophecy was given that the Most High would put enmity between the serpent who tricked our first mother to hand over to him the government of the earth. So the Mashiach was prophesied as the one who would come and restore the kingdom back to man, and therefore back into the fold of the Most High, whose ownership it is. As the scripture tells us, the earth is Allahayim, or Yahweh's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. But it slipped away in principle, because the one who was installed by the Most High to be the guardian and the caretaker of the earth let it slip away because of the loss of the first woman. And therefore, the first man fell as he tried to bring help to his woman. As we see in the book of Timothy, where it shows you that it wasn't Adam who actually did, the original deed of selling out the kingdom, but it was the woman. And so in his love for her, he let the kingdom go, trying to bring comfort to her. Okay, so we're going back here then, and we're seeing that where we are now in relation to having been set free from the 400 years of enslavement, the Mashiach, as you see, portrayed being the messenger of Yahweh in chapter 3 and verse 1, with Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. We get a clearer understanding of what is being portrayed here, because as been shown in the scripture, that Satan has become the god of this world through that first or that initial act in the garden when the woman gave the kingdom over to him. And then the Mashiach, the Father had to prophesy the Mashiach coming back into the earth to bruise the serpent's head in Bereshith chapter 3. I believe it's verse 15, somewhere in that area. The Mashiach was prophesied to come and bruise the serpent's head to have the kingdom return or set back to its proper owner and set in proper order, because under the dominion of Satan's rulership, through the kings of the earth that were chosen as kings in the nations, all those nations other than Yasha'Allah, Satan made havoc of the earth. Therefore, you read in Bereshith or Genesis, those first chapters, you see all the wars going on between nations, because Satan had gained his entrance into the world by being able to come into man himself through the opening of the eye. Remember, I showed you before that the eyes being opened means that this opening of the eye was an avenue to come into the body, the very body of man, that Satan could come in, bring his demons, and set up their kingdom, their kingdomhood, maybe I should say. They could rule from inside of the being of man himself. And this is what you had going on with all those kings that were set up, humans, infiltrated by Satan through the eye, the opening of the eye. And then, of course, we recognize that when the eye of the first couple was open, that the Spirit of the Most High, the Ruach, left the earth. And so man, or mankind, fell totally under the rule of Satan, except that the Spirit of the Most High would come and unveil through a prophet, another man, all right, other than from the general audience or the general body of humankind that had their various kings and queens and rulers who were under the rule of Satan. But the Spirit of the Most High would descend in the midst of the people, the line of priesthood or prophets that would receive the word from the Ruach of the Most High and speak for the ordinance of the Most High. And therefore you had the prophecy continuing to come forth through the various ones, beginning with Adam and Noah, Lamech, I think it was, Enoch, these various ones that were receiving from the Most High through the Ruach that had been deposed, or I can use the word rejected, a word I don't particularly care about, but so that you can understand. The Ruach was rejected by Adam. And so the Ruach left and came on various occasions to bring prophecy concerning the will of our Father Yahweh. And one of the first prophecy was that the Most High would put a situation of war between the woman and the serpent, that he would send someone to bruise the head of the serpent and bring restoration to the kingdom of the Most High in the earth. So I want you to get a good understanding of what you're reading in Bereshith and through the rest of the scriptures concerning the will of the Most High, in contrast to what happened in the garden to cut off the Most High's rulership in the earth from the time of the Garden of Eden. And so, with the understanding now of the eyes being open, was the avenue that Satan and the demons gained access to come into the body of man, any man that was. You see? But because the Father had his eyes on a people, and he needed to create a community of faith. Get that word. He has now created a community of faith towards the understanding of his will to reinstate a man that would take his kingdom ideal to a people of his choosing. You see? And this is the reason why we had the turmoil and the uprising between kings and kings and kings and queens and so forth, because all was under the rulership of Satan. Because all these children, all these people came through Adam and Hawa. And the Ruach had left them when they left him in eating of the forbidden tree, the forbidden fruit. So all those people who were, busy making up stories and not appreciating what we had there in the Bereshith or Genesis beginning concerning the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it is right on target. When they had that fruit, their eyes were open, and so Satan and his demons could come in and inhabit, I guess you could say, from our experience, that they inherited the body of men to work the works of Satan in the earth. And that's why the Most High had to send his beloved in the form of sinful flesh to depose the dictatorship of Satan, all those kings that serve him. The famous Hamite ruler who built the Tower of Babel and all that stuff, these were dedicated to Satan. They all came out of the loins of Adam. You have to get the picture now. All these kings and queens and rulers who lived in the earth came out of Adam and Hawa and were all a part of the heritage of sin, because Satan and the demons were allowed to have the body of mankind, through the opening of the eye of Adam and Hawa. I think you're getting it now. And so this is why we have the Mashiach, eventually. And so you see now with Yehoshua, the high priest, that in the Babylonian captivity, as they begin to wind down towards being released from the 70 years captivity, the Mashiach, or the Most High, is renewing and refreshing, his kingdom ideas in the nation of Yasha'Allah, of Yehuda, or Yehuda, because these were the chief ones of the nations that were in captivity under Babylon, while those of Ephraim, or the northern tribes, were away in South America. Got it? And so we had, Nebuchadnezzar bombarding the house of Yehoiada in those various captivities. And now we're coming to a point where the Most High is working their release, you see? And he begins to refresh the nation and to send forth prophecies concerning the coming of the Mashiach. And this is what is going on here with Yehoshua, the high priest. He's being renewed as a high priest to be a faithful priest to the Most High and to the nations, to give guidance concerning the will of the Heavenly Father, which the chief idea at the time was the bringing forth of the Mashiach. But you see the Mashiach in evidence here. Through the realm of the Spirit, you see the Mashiach officiating in his place. This is beautiful. And so he is now, as he has officially come into his high priesthood last year at Yom Kippur, when most of Yasha'Allah gave no attention to this fact. They celebrated Yom Kippur as Yom Kippur in the general way, with very little recognition of the fact that the sinless one had come already. And then Yom Kippur last year, that same one who came in the time of Herod the king, Edomite dog, the Mashiach that came in his day, the days of Herod the king, and Pilate the king, kings of Edom, the Mashiach that was born in their day, stepped into his high priesthood last year in Yom Kippur to begin to officiate the kingdom of the Most High in the earth officially, and to make representation for the 12 tribes to the end, or at the end of 400 years enslavement, where he is indeed installed into the high priesthood to make intercession for the whole house of Yasha'Allah. David, the house of David, and Ephraim. You see? And this is what the 12 tribes were not fully cognizant of, and in fact paid very little attention to the ascension of the Mashiach into the priesthood last year at Yom Kippur. The celebration of the priesthood, making representation of cleansing or putting forth the need for cleansing to the Father at that time, or at this time in Yom Kippur. But here we have in Yom Kippur last year, Mashiach himself, the Lamb of Yah, not a 4-footed animal lamb, but the very Lamb of Yah, who was crucified under Pontius Pilate, to the credit of the Edomites, whose dream it was from the time of the birthright fiasco, or the birthright turmoil between Esau and Jacob. Esau got his privilege to destroy the work of the Most High, to kill it, to set it at naught. Man, he was so proud. I mean, you look at it now and you hear the Nicene Creed, crucified under Pontius Pilate. This is the badge of honor of Edom. That was his conquest from the time of the birthright that he refused. So, I want to keep you on track. I want to keep you too much longer now. I say we might not finish this thing right here at the moment. So, in a second, Yashala, as you have the Mashiach standing to represent Yahushua, as was his place, as is his place now. He represents whoever the king in the earth is or has to be. As the King of Kings under the Most High, he chooses the king and give representation to the king before the people, before the nation of Yasha'Allah, so that they give respect to the king, that we could have orderly conduct among the nation. And this is the beautiful thing that you need to see now, Yasha'Allah. The Mashiach was mediating from that time, and is now officially as the king that has been born in the time of Herod the king, the Edomite king, and Pilate, The Mashiach being born in the flesh now, you know, he is representing Yehoshua in the time of the Babylonian captivity. And so the Most High speaks up. Yahweh, this is Yahweh speaking now. Yeah, this is Yahweh. You know, you have those in among the 12 tribes saying that the Most High never leave his throne. They treat that satanic doctrine, that the Most High never leave his throne. And we've seen the Most High leave his throne, come down on Mount Sinai and write the 10 Commandments with his finger. But yet we have those devils in Yasha Allah making the satanic representation, you know, against the Most High and saying the Most High never leaves his throne. He never left his throne. This is what they say. Against the factual representation that the whole world knows, that Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai in the sight of the Egyptians, sight of the nations who saw it and witnessed it, that the sea of reed was split by the power of the Ruach and allowed the children of Yasharah to go through the path that was made in the sea on the right hand and the left hand of them, going through the sea of reeds. The Most High himself, Yahweh, came down and wrote the word. So those who say that the Most High never left his throne and never leaves his throne, they're liars. This is not the only instance that we see the Most High leaving his throne and coming down. All right. I think we might kind of break off here because we're getting long. But the point is that Satan is standing at the right hand of Yehoshua, the high priest, as it says in verse 1 of chapter 3, to be an adversary to him, as has been his position since the time he was let into the body and the being of man because of the Garden of Eden situation. So he has continuously put up a contest for the right to have rulership of mankind because of that situation. And this is what the coming of the Mashiach was all about, breaking that hold on man and driving out the demonic spirits, demonic infestation. This is why you had the Mashiach in his day, you know, making Satan and the demonics flee, leaving the bodies of his children, those who trusted him. He had to drive them out because the Garden of Eden situation gave them access. And as we are in this time of refreshing and heading towards being totally emancipated from the kingdom of Satan and the Edom and the nations, we encourage you to go deeper into this word. And according to our representation here, that this situation that was going on was in preparation for the setting free of the house of Yahweh from Babylonian captivity. Where are we? Still in Babylon. And we're looking for total freedom. You see, because the 400 years represented being in bondage under Edom. Now, it was actually under Satan, but Satan hid himself and left Edom out in front to make believe that Edom was the power behind the throne. So every all eyes was upon Edom. And Edom took that, he took it to heart that he was the boss, and everything was under his control, like it was with Pharaoh when Israel, Yasha'Allah, was in Mitzrayim and being mistreated. Edom had this privilege again, where now he has brought in the COVID disease. This is the Edom work. Ain't no disease fly through the air. This is the work of Edom. And so we're preparing, Yasha'Allah, for our final round in the process and the procession of our mandate to leave the nations of the heathen and go back to our place. We bring you this word to encourage your heart, to let you know that we're moving forward. You remember as Moshe showed the children, the Most High said, go forward, move on, let's go. So be encouraged, Yasha'Allah. Be encouraged as we move forward. We should bring you a further update on this passage here in Zechariah. You can now review it for yourself as I think you get a better picture, a better understanding of what this vision was about and who are the characters for sure as we're moving forward under the direction of our King by the Ruach that split the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds, that we, our forefathers, went forward and escaped. So are we escaping in the name of our High Priest, Mashiach, Yahushua. To him be praised before the Ruach, in the name of the Father, Yahweh. Bless you, Yasha'Allah. Bless you. May the Most High keep you, make his face to shine upon you, give you peace. Bless Yasha'Allah.